Hello, everybody. I'm Mel Doerr, the Aloha Shirt Psychic, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I haven't been doing a lot of morning moments with Mel and my Monday night shows because I'm getting ready to go to Africa. So for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've really been kind of consumed with that and working late every night, trying to get readings done and all of that. But I will get back to a normal schedule once we return back from Africa on July the 3rd. So Linda Grindle and I had a show scheduled for today. And normally we do it at noon Central Standard Time and 10 a.m. her time. So because of wildfires very near her house, and she said the wind is blowing very strong there, and she didn't sleep much last night. I talked to her this morning. She and I have decided that we're going to pre-record our show this evening. It's 6:30 Chicago time and 4:30 California time. So I thought I'd come on and just say hi to everybody and let you know what's going on. So I'll be doing a morning moments with Mel tomorrow morning. Then tomorrow night with Arthur. Then Wednesday, a morning moments with Mel. I have to check and see if Kim Copeland and I are doing a show on Wednesday evening. Thursday morning moments with Mel, and then I leave to Africa on Thursday. So I'm excited. For those of you who are interested in our Chicago event, you can call my office at 847-590-5411 or email me at www.meldoerr.com. When I get back from Africa, I'm going to put on my website my trips for next year. There's a luxury cruise on a luxury yacht going to the Italian and French Rivieras in May. There is for next year a trip to Peru in September and a trip to Iceland in October to see the Northern Lights. So I will have all those put on my website when I get back from Africa. Anyway, so I want to touch on a few of your questions that I didn't get a chance to touch on, a while ago, and talk about some recent events as well. So I understand that Netanyahu dissolved his war cabinet, and he says he's not going to replace them with anyone. I still see people in Israel protesting, and as I've said many times before, I am clearly pro-Israel, but clearly anti-Netanyahu. And I see him held for war crimes and convicted, the same as I do the leader of Hamas. I see a leader, as I've said many times before, my guides have shown me, coming to Israel who will promote peace in the Middle East, have two separate states, Israel and Palestine, that will peacefully coexist. It was funny. Back in the 1980s, I had predicted that I saw the Berlin Wall coming down, and everybody laughed at me. They thought this guy's crazy. And as it so happened, with the breakup of the Soviet Union and all of that, the Berlin Wall did come down. And I also said that I had seen a reunited Germany. And that's exactly what happened. Not to toot my own horn, but I see at some point, and my intuition tells me we'll see it in our lifetime, Israel and Palestine being friendly. I see a strong leader, as I said, coming to Israel that will promote peace in the Middle East. So I see peace. It's going to take a while, but we'll get there. As far as Putin is concerned, I'm sure he's got his hand underhandedly in what's going on with Donald Trump now. And people are worried about Trump gaining in popularity. But I just heard today that Biden's team is spending $50 million in a campaign blitz highlighting Trump's felony convictions. And I understand that Trump, I had to have my laugh for the day. I really had to have my laugh for the day. And my laugh for the day was that Trump challenged Biden to a competency test. But when Trump did that, he couldn't remember or confuse the doctor who tested Trump, who tested him. I'm like, all righty then. Boy, I hope Biden takes him up on the challenge, because Biden will chew him up and spit him out. We can't take this election lightly. Don't pay attention to the polls. They don't mean that much right now. I heard Alan Lichtman, he is the professor who has predicted every presidential race correctly since back in the 80s. He predicted Gore would win, and actually, in my opinion, Gore did win. The Supreme Court changed that around real quick. But anyway, he is preliminarily said Biden is going to win. But everybody, we can't sit back on our laurels. We must be vocal. We must get out and vote. Our democracy depends on it. It really does. So Biden's team is going to start speaking up, and I see money pouring into the Biden campaign. I listen to some of Trump's rhetoric, and it's just unhinged. It's like, and we think, how can this happen in America? I talked to some sociologist friends of mine, and they said that, and some psychologists, that people like Trump, they play on everybody's fear, the xenophobia, the fear of people coming in, taking over. And Trump did it with Muslims. Now he's doing it with with people at the border, making a border crisis when technically there really isn't that big of one. He causes people to suspend their critical thinking and clearly plays on their fear. I heard him talk, and he said, well, I can't do his accent. Who'd want to? Alec Baldwin can do Trump better than Trump. But Trump said, well, these people crossing at the American border, they take over a seat in the classroom for kids that really need to go to school. And it was just unhinged. And I'm thinking, whoa. So what he's done with his MAGA group and other people has caused them to suspend their critical thinking. And he's playing on their fear, and he's playing on xenophobia. He's blaming others for obviously stuff he's done and for all the wrongs are supposedly the problems in this country. And the only problem in this country is Trump. So I suggest that people take back their critical thinking and really analyze what Trump is saying and get the word out there that it's full of crap. People wonder how Hitler came to power. Well, look at what just happened with Trump. It's the same thing. It really is. So, Putin is behind a lot of this, I think, but Putin is going to be overthrown at some point. I see him gone. I see Netanyahu gone. It looks for a while like the pendulum is swinging more toward the ultra right. In other countries as well, like in France, but Macron, I think, suspended the parliament. Good. They're going to have re-elections there because of Le Pen, or Le Pen, however you pronounce her name. I don't speak French and my accent's horrible. If she gets in, France is in deep trouble. This is a lot of what's going on is an attempt to weaken NATO. And Putin is behind that, because if he can weaken NATO, then he thinks he can march into NATO countries. Some of them belong to the former Soviet Union, and he can just take them over. Well, that's not going to work. Ukraine is not going to stop fighting. And so that's why we need to win this election for our own rights and to protect democracy in countries like Ukraine, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Romania, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, all of those countries. So everybody, let's get out and vote. I understand that Trump's allies are hoping that Tiffany, Trump's, I think, daughter, that her father-in-law, Tiffany's father-in-law, can flip Arab American voters in Michigan to vote for Trump. Well, they might be successful in getting a few Arab Americans to vote for Trump, but I want to tell you, not many of them will. I see Biden carrying the Palestinian American vote and the Arab American vote. I mean, after all, Trump's the one who said he didn't want Muslims to come into the country. So that's going to come out as well. You know, Biden is going to, in in Biden's campaign, my feeling is he's going to start talking about his accomplishments. Some people are asking about the loyalty to the country of some of the military. And there's a push for former military people to go into government leadership. I'm all for that, by the way. And there's also supposedly a noted increase of angry young men joining the military. Escape nurse, this is one of her comments. And she says it might be naive of us to believe that if it ever came to civil discourse, that these military men would not follow a leader who believed in a Trump agenda. But the opposite of that is General Smiley, when Trump wanted to, I think, pull some shenanigans, General Smiley said no. So there are high enough leaders in the military, in my opinion, in my psychic opinion, my guides tell me, that if, God forbid, if Trump is elected, which I don't see that he will be, but they wouldn't follow the directives of somebody who's deranged. So I think that we'd have good military leaders smart enough to realize to do what's right. But that's a very good question, escape nurse. Okay. So people are wondering about when Biden wins the election, is Trump going to try to take it to SCOTUS? I'm sorry, when Biden wins the election, will Trump try to take it to SCOTUS? And the answer to that is yes, he will. But my feeling is SCOTUS will uphold the election. Trump is going to try, if when Biden wins, another insurrection. But and he'll try more shenanigans. It's rigged, look what they did to me, blah, blah, blah. It's the same old story. Like when he was convicted, rather than, swallow the pill that he had done something wrong, oh, no. He blamed it on the system. He blamed it on Biden. And what's worse is a lot of these politicians, like the Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson, and some other senators who probably didn't take their anti-crazy pills that day, went to New York, and rather than talk about how our justice system works and praising the justice system, they went along with the Trump rhetoric about that it was a conspiracy, it was rigged, blah, blah, blah. It looks like they drank the Trump Kool-Aid. Well, some of them probably did, but it was pretty obvious that they were there because Trump's people got to them and had them speak up against the jury and against the judge and against the judge's daughter because Trump knew he couldn't. But there are going to be people coming out of the woodwork saying that Trump will have knowledge that Trump's team put those politicians up to that. I still see Trump being held in contempt for violation of the gag order. Anyway, those politicians were there. They didn't care about the constituents. They didn't care about the American people. All they wanted to do was secure a place in Trump's cabinet in the event that he wins. And I think a lot of them were vying to be vice president. I still see Marjorie Taylor Greene making a motion to get Johnson out as Speaker of the House. But this time around, my guides tell me if she does that, the Democrats won't save his rear end. The Democrats are the one that saved Johnson's rear end. And then what does he do? He turns around and runs and then criticizes the Democrats because it's a Joe Biden conspiracy to make Trump look bad because Trump is running for president. Wow. I was blown away. Trump was convicted of 34 counts, felony counts, with jurors that liked Trump, some of them. And it just blows me away. Anyway, I see those like Johnson, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I see her out of power as well. So I don't think SCOTUS is going to interfere in the election. Um, but the other thing that bothered me, a lot bothered me, was when I think it was Alito's wife who said that as soon as he's done, she's going to hang an anti-gay flag in front of her house. What does that have to do with anything? You know, it's what does gay people having the right to be married have to do with anything? It's not hurting anybody. It's not bringing down the downfall of this country. The only thing bringing down the downfall of this country are people like Donald Trump and his MAGA Naziistic followers. And my guides tell me that they will not win. They will not win. So I was just blown away. So if anything comes up about gay marriage, technically Alito should recuse himself. Clarence Thomas wants to have gay marriage brought back to the Supreme Court. And when they say things like that, they just give states like Abbott in Texas or Paxton, the crook that he is, the opportunity to say, okay, we're going to deny a gay couple marriage. And when it gets to the Supreme Court, they'll probably overturn gay marriage. That's what they're going to be up to. But my feeling is they won't win. At some point, I see Roe v. Wade being upheld again. When Biden is reelected, I see us taking over the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And I see at least 3 more justices coming on the court. Biden will appoint 3 more. But also, I see 2 justices being impeached. I keep seeing that. And my guides keep telling me they're going to be impeached. One will probably resign before they're brought to trial in the Senate. The other one won't, but will be found guilty in the Senate. So there's going to be more scandals coming out about SCOTUS as well. I see Trump being held criminally responsible in New York for the taxes that he cheated on for tax fraud. So my feeling is that case in New York, the civil case, is going to, the state of New York is also going to turn it over for prosecution criminally. And he's going to be indicted at least on 15 more counts there. Furthermore, Jack Smith federally, when he found more documents that Trump didn't disclose, my feeling is he's going to convene a grand jury in Washington, D.C., and he will not take it to Judge Eileen Luce-Cannon. So he'll have more charges against Trump brought in another court, in federal court. And I'm feeling that that judge would also be a Republican, but a very no-nonsense judge who would not show partiality in any way, shape, or form. Judge Luce-Cannon, I see taken off the bench at some point, and I see her actually, the 11th Circuit, taking her off the bench. Jack Smith is already filing all kinds of appeals on her lunacy with the 11th Circuit Court. Okay. I see at some point the IRS will look into Donald Trump and his tax shenanigans. So I see charges coming out with that. You know, notice they're not saying too much about Hunter Biden. He was found guilty. I see Hunter Biden appealing, and I see that I think that this case is going to be turned over on appeal, and that he would go for another trial, is how I see it. My feeling is Biden will not pardon him, that President Biden has faith in the justice system of this country. Had it been Trump, he would have pardoned his son 5 times over and then said it was a conspiracy against his son. Notice Trump's not saying too much about the Hunter Biden thing, and a lot of the Republicans or the MAGAs aren't, because if they know they're open their mouth, they're going to get crucified. Plus, my guides show me that Hunter Biden will file a lawsuit against Marjorie Taylor Greene. And guess what? He's going to win. And it's going to cost her lots of money. My feeling is the Democrats will win at least a 52-seat majority in the Senate. That's what I see. But I'm thinking it could even be more than 52. And they're going to take back over the House as well. I guess some people are asking about the relationship between Jenny Thomas and Alito, and if they influence their husbands in turning over Roe v. Wade. I don't think they had to. My feeling is that some ultra right-wing MAGA so-called Christians met with some people in the Supreme Court and told the Supreme Court what they wanted, and a couple of the justices agreed to it, and all of that is going to come out. But when they did, they awakened Pandora's box. I see legislation passed that's going to limit Supreme Court terms, but will also limit, like, if they absolutely cannot take any money whatsoever from any constituent, anybody that wants something passed. And if they do, then they're going to be held criminally liable. So the Supreme Court is going to have a huge shakeup, a lot more than what we've seen. I'm looking at old questions as we go along here, and I'm just trying to answer those for you. So people are asking about the Summer Olympics in Paris. I'm excited about that. And I see it being safe for all the athletes. I do see some breakout of violence, but my feeling is France will really, really, really have heavy, heavy security. And so I do see an organization like Interpol, I don't know what it's called in France, will thwart an attempt to try to do some sort of terrorist activity there, but I don't see it taking place. So people are wondering about, does Satan leading office in 2026? Hallelujah. I see Florida going purple at that point. And I still see DeSatan getting into trouble. And once Abbott is gone from Texas, I see Texas turning purple. At least they'll get a different attorney general. Paxton down there is going to end up indicted and going to jail federally. And I don't know if Beto's going to run for governor down there, but he's going to be highly influential in at least getting a Democrat and changing the Texas House and Senate. So one will have a Republican majority, one will have a Democratic majority, one of the houses down there. Here, when Hakeem Jeffries is Speaker of the House, he's going to be incredible. And he's really going to tie Marjorie Taylor Greene and people like her, their tongues. I mean, they have the right to free speech, but not to slander folks. So I see a lot of that changing. Okay. I do see that it's going to be a terrible year for weather. Today in Chicago, the temperature is 97, and there's heat alerts out, purple heat alerts. And the city is opening up cooling shelters for people who don't have air conditioning. So if you're in a place where we're having these heat waves, and if you know of somebody elderly or someone with young children or people who don't have air conditioning, please call them, make sure they're okay, help them find places to stay cool. And you all, even if you have air conditioning, when you go outside, don't stay in the sun too long. Make sure you drink plenty of water. Iced tea people like, but iced tea is a diuretic. and that will make you urinate. And so when you drink iced tea, actually it can dehydrate you more. So drink lots of water or Gatorade if you like it. I'm not plugging Gatorade. Something like that. If you have animals like dogs, do not, I repeat, do not take them for long walks in this heat. Take them outside, let them go to the bathroom, and bring them back in. If you're going to walk your dog, do so early in the morning while it's still cool, or later at night after the sun goes down while it's cool, because dogs in this weather are very, very, very prone to heat stroke, specifically puppies and dogs are a little bit older. So this weather is going to get a lot more inclement. We're going to see a lot of hurricanes ravaging the East Coast and coming up to the Gulf of Mexico and hitting like Florida. I think Louisiana might get hit. And also, let's see, even places in Alabama, I think. Bigger storms, much bigger storms, a lot of level 6 hurricanes coming. You know, on the West Coast, more fires. Everyone, please put your protection around Linda Grindle and send her lots of healing and white light. I think she told me the fires are like 25 miles away from her. So we want to make sure that she's safe. And my guides tell me she will be safe and that her house will be safe. Okay. So let's see. Let me look at my notes here. My feeling is this weather is going to continue for at least 8 or 9 more days. And certain places here in Chicago, we have the cicadas. The cicadas are locusts. They come out every 17 years and they come out in droves. When you walk outside, the sound, think of millions and millions of crickets chirping, middle of the day, and take that times 100. And so the dog won't even go outside. She just freaks out with the sound, and they're everywhere. They don't fly in swarms, but I think what happens is they lay their eggs go on the ground, make larvae. They stay in the ground for 17 years. They burrow back up. They, turn into cicadas. They breed and then die. Seems so unfair, doesn't it? Damn. Glad I'm not one of them. They eat small trees. So many of the trees here have nets to keep the cicadas off and plastic going up the trunk so that they don't eat that. They've eaten all the blooms off our impatiens. They've eaten part of my basil plants. And they don't eat the blooms on tomatoes, though. Even marigolds they ate. And I told Gary, I said, I hope they get indigestion. Anyway, it's kind of neat, though. I mean, but we have just got cicada carcasses everywhere. And you sweep, and the next morning there's just a bunch of them. You can't even walk on the sidewalk. So there's cicadas that come every year in August, but these 17-year ones, boy. I was driving down Glenview Road the other day. That's the road by my house. And I saw this black mass in front of me. And it was maybe like, I don't know, 20 feet long by like 15 feet wide. And it was just moving. And when I ran through it, I could hear this crunch, crunch, crunch. It was cicadas. It was just this whole army of cicadas. So anyway, all right. That's all I've got to say for right now. The only other thing I want to talk about, people are nervous about, this whole contraception thing, the contraception vote. I think there's going to be some anti-abortion people who'll make a big play to bring that back to the Supreme Court. But I still see the morning after pill on the market, and I still see people being able to take it. The anti-abortion, they're going to make a big play to thwart reproductive rights. But here again, and there's going to be more about, banning birth control pills and contraception and all of that. some of these politicians want to take us back 70 years. I even heard one of the MAGAs say that they would even think about wanting to revisit women's right to vote. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. So on a happier note, I see the Dems winning. I see a lot of districts in states that have traditionally been red. I see the Democrats picking up a lot of seats locally in a lot of those governments. And that's also a bellwether, I think, of what's going to happen in the general elections coming up in November. Remember, it's early yet. A lot can still happen, but everybody get out and vote. I hope this was helpful for you. I'll see you tonight again with Linda Brindle, and we'll be answering more of your questions then. Stay well, stay safe, and if you're in a heat zone, please, please, please stay hydrated. Help somebody if you think they don't have access to cool drinks. And also, if it's really hot in their house, invite them over. So please stay cool, stay hydrated, and to all the people in California, let's send them white light, the ones in the areas of where the fires are hitting. And I don't see the fires being as devastating as they were last year. I see the wind dying down a little bit, so that'll help. And I see some rain coming out there that'll put those fires out. So, all right, everybody, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you later on. But right now, namaste and aloha.